For the vast majority of my adult life, I was what was classified as morbidly obese. Not fat, P-H-A-T, not chubby, not fluffy, not plus size, not full-figured, straight up morbidly obese. 5'5" and 300 pounds, that's morbid obesity. The only person that can be 300 pounds is Shaq, and he has to run up and down the court for 45 minutes. So facing obesity and deciding to do something about it ultimately saved my life. I didn't know it at the time. I decided to have weight loss surgery and lose the physical weight, and then I went into therapy and lost the emotional weight so that I was able to keep it off. Starting out on the day of gastric bypass, they weighed me on an industrial scale, and I was 307 pounds. And I have celebrated my 9th anniversary in August, and I have kept 150 pounds off.
Went back to the motion picture hospital out in Calabasas. My doctor, my general practitioner was there, and then said, you know, would you take a look at this? This is, Richard, come on, it's nothing. But while you're here, let me just stick a needle in there and check it out. So I went home and figuring there's nothing going on, and then maybe 2, maybe 3 days later, he called me up. He said, Richard, I need you to come in. We need to talk. We were friends, but not that close. You come in and talk? And the red flag went up. I went in, and he sat me down, and he says, you have cancer. And I went numb. He went on to say, you have breast cancer. You question my manhood, man. What are you talking about? I said, Richard, you have breast cancer. And he went on to talk about the procedure we'd have to go through to hopefully eradicate this from your body. Automatic pilot, I'm just, you know, and it hit me that breast cancer, women die from that. That was singularly one of the most devastating moments in my life, thinking that I had something that I could actually die from. Shaft? Come on.
Shut your mouth.
At the Dr. Susan Love Research Foundation, we define advocacy as getting the public engaged and involved in research. I think the role of the advocate is changing, especially for breast cancer. For a long time, we were out there marching and demanding more money for breast cancer research, and we have to continue to do that. But I think women and men have a bigger role now in terms of having a voice in research, demanding better research, and participating in research even before the onset of a disease. And that's what we do, and that's what we promote at the foundation. We think that by mobilizing the public, educating them about research, and really your own personal health information is a treasure chest that we need to help us understand what are causes of breast cancer and ways to prevent it.
At the Barbra Streisand Women's Heart Center, we are now trying to ride on that tidal wave to educate women about heart disease. So the numbers are staggering. It's 350,000 women die every year of heart disease. And most importantly, it's approximately 50,000 more women die every year than men. And heart disease since 1982 has been predominantly a majority, more women have died of heart disease. So we have now known this since 1982 and are really chartering the research to determine why that is. And Star, I think that your comments are so important and hit home because a lot has to do with recognizing the symptoms of heart disease. The symptoms of heart disease in women are dramatically different in a woman than it is in a man. And that's what I would like to get the message out, but also how women develop heart disease is different.
Cancer, whether it's breast cancer or another type of cancer, is a consequence of many things that we experience in our lives that change the way our cells behave. Normally cells multiply to a certain degree, and then they stop because they have a dedicated, defined function. But cancer cells are cells that, because of bad messaging, bad DNA, they continue to multiply. And not only do they multiply, but they also lose respect for their boundaries. So a cell that starts in the breast can move to the lung or to the liver or the bone.
And become aggressive.
And become aggressive, right.
So it can be genetic as well as environmental?
It's multifactorial, so genetics is one component, but then our genes are affected by our environment and about our lifestyle and habits. And so all of these things play a part in what a cell does in its lifespan and whether or not it becomes a cancer cell. So for breast cancer, we know that breast cancer has a significant genetic component, but then there are lifestyle components such as exercise and nutrition, which also are important for heart disease as well. And when you manage those risks, you can reduce the risk of breast cancer. So we know that they play a role in it. But unfortunately, we can't identify specific things you can do to eliminate the possibility of developing breast cancer because there's so many factors that play a role that it's hard to control all of them.
What is it about obesity? In terms of breast cancer, it all comes down to estrogen production. So people who are overweight have their adrenal glands pump out this thing called androstenedione. Anyway, it gets converted by fat to estrogen. So overweight women have more estrogen, and 75% of all breast cancers are fueled to multiply and grow by estrogen. So we need to lose that weight so that we can get the estrogen under control. Here's a very interesting fact. Okay, if you remember back, especially girls, women, how much did you weigh when you were 18? Star did a big 180 on this one, I'm guessing.
I had to, honey.
And that is, the majority of women gain weight throughout life. So if you think back to 18, or if you know your ideal body weight, get that number in your head. You ready? Plus or minus 8 pounds, you have no increased risk for breast cancer. And frankly, you can leave. We don't like you if you still fit in your skinny jeans. All right. If you
I love you already.
If you've gained 9 to 14 pounds, you just jump breast cancer risk by 25%. 14 to 21 pounds, 60%. And if you have gained over 21 pounds since high school, you just doubled your risk of breast cancer. The good news is if you lose that weight, you'll lose the risk.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So it's you can reverse it.
Oh, this is an exciting study, actually.
I'm really excited now.
Okay, I want to tell you about this one. This one it's steeped in a great study. 33,000 women were followed for 15 years, and they tracked a bunch of things, but of course breast cancer was one of them. And then they picked that out, and they said, all right, now let's compare that to weight. So those women who maintained weight, even if they were overweight, but if they maintained their weight throughout those 15 years, they were our null group, okay? So they had the baseline risk of breast cancer. If you lost weight prior to menopause in those 15 years, your breast cancer dropped in half. If you lost that weight after menopause, it dropped by 35%. So start losing.
So get to moving is the point. Thank you all very, very much. It was fantastic. When Scotty first said that I flew out from New York, on my way here, I was struck by, on the airplane, when they're giving you the instructions from the flight attendants, that flight attendants always say in case of emergency, the oxygen mask will deploy, and you are to put on your own oxygen mask before you help someone else with theirs. So I encourage you to put on your own oxygen mask and take control of your own health. You're no good to anyone dead, and your family needs you. Your community needs you. And she who has health has hope, and she who has hope has everything. Thank you so very much.